My wife and I are accused of kidnapping our own child by my mother, and it's absolutely crazy. My mother is trying to take my child away. My mother is awful when it comes to children. She has a history of domestic violence, violence towards kids. During my childhood, my mother, she drank all the time. There was a lot of physical abuse. I got told that I would never amount to anything when it comes to raising kids and instilling morals and values. She doesn't know what she's doing. After being with my mother for 4 days, my daughter started wetting the bed again. She started having nightmares. She was like, "Daddy, I'm scared." She said, "I can't see you again because you're sick. Mommy's in jail." I was like, "No, baby, we're right here. We'll never leave you again." I kept my daughter away from my mother because she had been saying things that weren't true. I'm very worried about my daughter going with my mother. The court ruling is the judge, he automatically gave my mother and her husband a few hours a weekend to have her unsupervised. There is no evidence against Allie and I. It's all hearsay and lies. She's trying to have a redo with my child because she failed with her children. We're perfectly capable parents. I would rather go to jail, flee the country to keep my daughter safe.
Allie, Dr. Phil.
Hello.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Waco, good to meet you.
You too, sir.
You guys have a seat. Okay, we're in a major conflict here, and to use your words, you have fled the state to protect your daughter, correct? What has triggered this?
Honestly, that's what we're here to find out. We have no idea. The whole situation is insane. It's just...
She contacted the Native American tribe to do home visits, stating that there was neglect, malnourishment, utilities being turned off. Those were the main three that she had told them. She contacted the state as well. They came in, they closed their cases out. They came to my house, they investigated, and they closed the case out. That's when she filed, when she found out that they keep closing the case because there's nothing wrong. So she filed for an attorney through the Native American tribe.
Well, you said that there was a fight, an argument that took place, and did this get physical?
Yes,
It
sir.
was a physical dispute.
And how did it get physical?
Yeah, my mother gets to my house. She's alone. Well, we start arguing. I said that something to the effect of, "I think you're just mad and doing this and saying these things because we are better parents than you have ever been to me."
I was inside the house, witnessing and
That's
letting
when
this happen.
she slapped me. She open palmed, got me. And then I turned to her. I said, "You hit me harder when I was a little kid."
It broke loose.
That's when she started punching me and slapping me, and my arms were behind my back the entire time. I will never, ever lay my hands on a female, ever. Allie starts walking down to see all the noise that's going on. She hops in her truck and leaves. And next thing I know, the cops show up. And he asks what's going on. I say, "Nothing, we're fine here," because I grew up seeing my mother go to jail for domestic abuse and all these things. I don't want to see her go to jail. So I say, "Nothing, it's fine here." And then that was
Who called
it.
the police?
My mother.
Your mother attacks you in the yard, throws you to the ground, hits you, and then calls the police?
Yes, sir.
What, to turn herself in?
To come check the house because the baby wasn't there.
Okay, but you sent an email, and in your email you said, "My daughter cannot go with this evil woman,"
Yes, sir.
right? And you believe that she is not safe with your mother because of the way your mother raised you.
Yes, sir.
She was violent with you. You saw her violent with other people.
Yes, sir.
Did she go to jail for domestic violence when
Yeah.
you were growing up?
Yes, sir. I've seen the police come and haul her off.
Waco and Allie are fugitives.
I would consider it two fugitives with a 3-year-old. That's pretty serious in my opinion.
I realized that my granddaughter was missing when they didn't show up for court.
Not knowing is the only hard thing. Where she's at, what she's doing, who she's with.
I filed a missing persons report to help find my granddaughter.
I've been concerned about my granddaughter since she's been a baby because parents don't ever live in the same place very long. They don't keep the same job very long.
I've been worried about them partying around my granddaughter. She has asthma. I am worried they are still smoking around her. I noticed a diaper rash so bad that it was red and bleeding.
When my granddaughter and Waco lived with us, I would still find Waco in bed, and my granddaughter would be up by herself trying to get something to eat.
Waco needs to just grow up and just be responsible for his actions. My granddaughter deserves better than what they are giving her right now. I am more capable of caring for her than they are. I hope that I find my granddaughter so she can come home to myself and Jacob and the rest of the family that misses her.
Well, Stacy and Jacob are being joined by their attorney. And will you pronounce your last name so I don't get it wrong?
It's Lori Guevara.
And I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
What was the trigger that made you think that this was a serious enough situation that you felt like you needed to go to court?
Because I was worried about her wellness, her being able to go to the doctor. I was worried about her being fed. I was worried about her taking baths.
So you observed her being malnourished?
Yes.
So you saw the child on an ongoing basis being medically underfed?
Yes.
Really? And was that documented with the pediatrician?
No.
Did you really think the child was missing, or did you know the child was with the parents?
They didn't show up for court, so I didn't know where she was.
Did you really think she had been kidnapped, or did you think she was with her mom and dad?
I believe she was with her parents.
I believe that she's been neglected, abandoned, and not ever mistreated, but she's been neglected and abandoned 3 times, twice by Waco and Allie and once by Allie. When you're supposed to take someone back to the house and they don't answer the phone, they don't answer Facebook for 24 hours, and we have things to do the next day, and they don't answer.
She dropped her phone in the tub and it broke.
My phone broke.
Do you believe that it is good public policy for children to be with their parents?
Do I, as long as they're taking care of the baby, right? Yes.
But just generally speaking,
Yes.
unless something intervenes that says, whoa, they're way off the mark, so somebody needs to step in their shoes and do it for them.
Yes.
And you think, the two of you think, that conditions, circumstances here have become so extreme that you've had to go to the court and say they are not fit to raise this child. We need to step into their shoes and raise this child on their behalf.
Yes.
If you were not fit parents, Waco questions whether you would even almost be an alternative for doing so based on the manner in which you parented him.
I'm not saying I was a good parent. I mean, not everyone is a good, have lessons to learn. And
Were you physically abusive with him as he was growing up?
no,
Were you mentally and emotionally abusive for him when he was growing up?
no.
Did you provide a stable home for him when he was growing up?
He always had electric. He always had clothes. He always had a roof over his head. He always had water to take baths. Yes.
Did he run away when he was growing up?
Yes.
Did he run away to escape beatings when he was growing up?
I would just believe that because of how Waco is, he felt like he needed to run away because he didn't want to be, he doesn't like authority, things like that.
But you deny that there was domestic violence in the home when he was growing up?
I did not abuse Waco.
Was there domestic violence in the home?
No.
Let's take a video look at this child and see how endangered she appears. I'm looking at the child's muscle mass. I'm looking at her emotions. I'm looking at how she interacts with the world. I'm looking at a lot of non-verbals here. I'm looking at her trust in going down the slide. I'm looking at her self-esteem and confidence in climbing a ladder. I'm looking at the micro expressions on her face. I'm looking at a whole lot of things that being trained in forensic psychology speak volumes to me. And I see, to me, a very vibrant, enthusiastic child. And, part of that may very well be a function of what you've contributed to this situation as well. It takes a village.
Yes, sir.
The story goes a lot better when you're the only one telling it, and a boxing match goes really well if you're the only one throwing punches. But when they start hitting back, it's not so much fun anymore.
We want them to come back to court
They
and
start
say their
digging
side.
in. They start digging into your background. They start digging into your background, and all of this starts getting extruded before experts and into the public record. And all of a sudden, it's just not so much fun. Talk to us.
Yeah, you know, Dr. Phil, we've seen a lot of these cases, and you know when Indian children are involved, these cases are so complex. They can end up in tribal court, a state court, federal court. They can take years of litigation and even end up in the United States Supreme Court. You, Allie, and Waco have to get a lawyer. You can't do this on your own. This is a very complex area of the law. If you're telling us the truth, that Child Protective Services went out and closed their case because there wasn't neglect and abuse, I just don't see, Dr. Phil, a reason for these young adults to have their parental rights terminated. And absolutely, it's not clear that the grandparents would become the guardians or in any way responsible for this child. But you can't run. You can't run. You've got to go to court and face this. You've got to get an attorney, and that attorney will advise you about how to undo this mess. But one thing these grandparents can do, they can agree to terminate that guardianship. So you have an opportunity to make this right. You don't have to leave here today and continue to fight your kids in court. Just because that order is there doesn't mean that you can't do something proactive to reverse this and to let them have custody of their children, which at this point, it appears they deserve.
We want her to be
I want you to be a part of her life.
to be in her life.
You're
We
saying that
know
on TV.
you both love her. We said it off the stage too.
Not to
Okay?
me.
No, not to you. I haven't seen you. I haven't talked to you.
Well, you know my number.
You know what?
What
Why
the
would I
hell
get
have-
a...
What the hell have you got to do with this?
I've been there since she was born.
And you love her. You do. They have
You're
problems.
you're married to her. You're not his father.
No, never claimed to be.
You're not his father. You're just married to his mother, and not for very long. How long y'all been married?
Since December.
Since December.
Been together 6 years.
We've been together 6 years.
Well, what you need to do is support her.
That's what I'm
That's
doing,
what
sir.
he's
You
doing.
don't lecture them. That's not your role. You're playing a very high stakes game here. And when I read what you say, I just want to be able to spoil my granddaughter. And you've got unfinished emotional business with your son here. He has one set of recollections about his experience as a child growing up. You have a different set of recollections of a mother raising him. And that's unfinished emotional business here. And it seems to me that that needs to be resolved. And it seems to me if the two of you would resolve those issues, that he would have a very different attitude and support his wife having a very different attitude of your involvement. But you don't do that by dragging him into court and saying, I'm taking your kids away. What he says to himself in his mind is the abuse continues, bitch is on my ass again. That's what he says to himself. My recommendation is you non-suit all of this, drop these proceedings, and the two of you let me arrange some professional help for you to resolve these differences and come up with a plan where this family can have some unity instead of turning it over to somebody here. Would you work at that?
Of course, yes.
Well, would you work at that?
Yes.
Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.